Welcome to the Tactical Dent Tech Podcast. You are now part of a small underground movement of dent technicians from all over the world. We are on a mission to change our industry with innovation, intelligence, and skill. But because we don't rely on an insurance company to steer customers our way, we need to do things different. We need to do things smarter. We do that through a network of technicians that we call the Tactical Tech Movement. Now let's get this revolution started.
What's happening, everybody? John Hiley here with Angela Hiley in the Tactical Dent Tech Podcast. Everybody, Angela Hiley is soon to be birthday girl of the week. She actually proclaims an entire week for her birthday. Makes me do all kinds of shit that I may or may not want to do.
No, actually, it's the whole of Pisces season.
So she gets like a whole fucking month or something like that for her birthday.
Yes, I do.
Hey, we want to give a shout out to the Bitch Boy from the last podcast. It was pretty awesome. Gave us something to talk about. A lot of people love the Bitch Boy podcast. If you haven't listened to it, jump back, listen to the podcast before this one. Everybody loved it, and I feel like I need some more Bitch Boys. So, Bitch Boys, if you're out there, send me a fucked up message, and I'll talk about you on my podcast.
That's nice.
So that being said, everybody, we're actually sitting here, and it is like a cold afternoon. This is probably the first time that we have done a podcast in the middle of the day like this. We'll say right now it's 1:15 on Saturday. Cold as can be in Ohio, but it is sunny, so that's a welcoming.
It's not that cold outside.
It's cold.
No,
it's really
not.
cold.
It's near upper 30s outside.
It's going to be getting to 50 next week around here in Ohio, and I know a lot of you guys in the northern states can appreciate that shit. Man, I start getting like the wintertime blues. Mm-hmm. You know, especially here in Ohio over the last couple weeks, it's been like either raining, cloudy, dreary, and really fucking cold.
Not too hateful.
I can't stand this shit.
You'll survive.
I'm going to get her to move to Florida in
No,
that
I'm
nice
not
little
living
town.
in Florida.
Vero Beach. I want to be there with old retirees.
I don't want to live in Florida all year.
You know, I thought that was going to fit in really well down there until we went into that fucking crazy bar where it looked like MTV back in the 80s.
Yeah.
But it was just a bunch of old people getting fucking shit-faced.
Yeah, 60 and up.
Yeah, it was pretty badass. Any of you guys who follow my Instagram story may or may not have seen that. Mm-hmm. Appreciate my Instagram peeps out there. What's up?
You're a dork.
All right, so what are we talking about today, baby?
Oh, no, you tell me.
We are talking about something called Core 4. And this is something a guy named Sean Whalen had written a book called, I think the book's name is Get Shit Done. And he talks about this concept, the Core 4. And it's something I've been trying to implement more and more into my life. I admit that I haven't got it fully implemented, but it's something that I keep at the top of mind. And, it's something more of like a daily routine, making sure that you get a certain amount of things that are important done on a daily basis. I mean, you guys know how it is, man. It's like, life's like a wagon wheel. If one part of the wagon wheel is missing, then it's going to be, you're going to be off balance. And in a sense, it's a way to, try to balance things out. I know a lot of us got crazy schedules. A lot of people that are listening to the podcast, you guys are business owners. Some of you guys are probably workaholics. Some of you guys are probably some lazy fuckers that are just laying on the couch listening to my podcast. But I'd say most of you guys are, on the other side of the spectrum. You guys
these
work
are like
really
the four
hard.
P's.
Yeah, so it's like and what this the principle is Core 4, and what it is, like, everything really falls in one of these categories that you'll actually do throughout the day. I've still been kind of working on how to structure my day to try to fit some of this in. Of course, one of them is power. What it is power, passion, purpose, and production. And what that translates into is that power is your body. It's going to be whatever your fitness goals are. Your passion is going to be your relationships, a.k.a. your wife's mad at you. Shit's not fucking good when that happens. And yeah, so don't, keep them happy, whatever. Send them nudes, whatever, throughout the day, things like that. some nudies.
No, I asked John. I was like, I like it when you send me like, you text me little like love messages.
And then what did I
like
text
that.
you right away?
I want your PP.
I want your PP. And then we got purpose, which is your mind. You know, what are you doing? I know a lot of people that get in their routine and they completely lose their purpose. You know, they really don't know like why they're doing what they're doing. And then you also got production, which is your business, your income. How do you balance, you know, these four things out in your life to make things just run smoothly, make them work? Sean talks about that. If you haven't checked it out, it's called Get Shit Done. I think it's Get Shit Done. Maybe that's his book. I'll look it up. But he talks about exactly, you know, how he does it. And essentially he's got like his day kind of scheduled out to fit in each element of, of Core 4. But I kind of found that it's a little bit different, especially for some of you guys out there that are, you know, service-based technicians. I mean, you're going to spend most of your time in production, but how do you be aware and take moments and do things that, your relationship, your passion, you know, which is maybe, you know, texting your wife or picking up the phone and calling somebody, continuously building relationships around you, keeping that at top of mind, your kids, you know, family, things like that. If you like your family, you know, which most people don't, to be honest.
Are you talking about like your extended family, or are you talking about like your
extended family?
Oh,
yeah. And then you've got purpose, which is your mind. I mean, what amount of time are you spending actually on your purpose? That is the one thing I truly feel that for the type of job that we're in, and I've talked about this in the past, that when you actually get good at paintless dent removal, when you get past the phase of being fucking terrible, which I haven't met anybody. I hear there's people out there that are just natural from the moment that like you put a tool in their hand. I call them, what is that? They got a silver tool up their ass instead of a silver spoon up the... Born with a silver tool up their ass, these guys are. And the ones have never made a mistake. And
oh yeah, right. They've made a mistake.
You know, as soon as they got a tool in their hand, they were literally, you know, glassing out panels like gold.
They're full of shit.
We're gonna say that they're born with a silver tool up their ass,
and they're full of shit.
Instead of a silver spoon up their ass.
And they're full of shit. They're full of
shit. But above and beyond that, once you get past the phase of struggle and the phase that it actually takes to learn how to do paintless dent removal, I find that it's honestly a great career to actually do that, to like really build your mind, because you know a lot of times even when I'm working on a dent, I'll be playing my Bose speaker and I'll be listening to a book. I'll be listening to whether it's a motivational book, whether it's a podcast, or whether it's going to be something that I'm actually going to learn something. You know, I'll go into Audible and I'll find they got books that come out every year, you know, YouTube 2020, or Facebook 2020, or search engine optimization 2020. And I'll kind of mince it in. Like I'll do some, like I'll know when I need motivation, and I'll know the times that I'm looking for some sort of educational experience opposed to motivation. But you know, I learn a lot from that. Also, podcast. I mean, there's a lot of social media podcasts. There's a lot of educational podcasts. There's a lot out there that are motivational as well.
Is there anything that you've stumbled on recently that you really enjoy right now?
Podcast-wise?
No, I mean anything. Books.
Oh, anything? Yeah, I keep going back to... there's a Tony Robbins book that I keep going back to. Of course, I've talked about this early on the podcast, but it's I've been going back and forth between The Science of Getting Rich for quite a while, and also Awaken the Giant by Tony Robbins would be two of them that I've been bouncing back and forth. And like I said, guys, you know, this is that season where in Ohio, I mean, when you go 2 weeks without much sun and it's cold and it's raining and stuff like that, I find myself kind of wanting to listen to motivational stuff more than anything.
Yeah.
You know, because that stuff, you get
the winter blues.
You start getting every year during the winter. We've kind of got a plan in place. We do this whole financial thing where every Sunday we, go over we call it our Financial Freedom Sunday. Mm-hmm. and we create a plan. We're probably thinking a year ahead right now when it comes to just our financials and where we're actually where we're planning on building our dream or buying or building our dream home or something like that. And then like every year around this time, it's like all my goals and things like that completely change. So she starts seeing me looking at beachfront properties, and like it wasn't like, but 3 months ago we were talking about buying a new house around here, and I'm looking at new houses, and we're kind of creating our plan and things like that.
When we were
and
at
then
the
she
gym?
you called me a flip flopper. So she called me a flip flopper when I started showing her like these beachfront properties, and I'm just sitting here going, I'm like, fuck, I want to live by the ocean now. I want to live by the beach now, because I'm sitting here like looking at all these, I always like I'm always looking through Zillow. I'm always looking at houses around here. I'm looking at like what they're selling for, what they're going for, and just it's one of the things. It's the next thing that we intend on doing. So I like to visualize that stuff. We go drive around in the neighborhoods that we want to move to. Mm-hmm. We do that stuff. We're getting the visualization. We're building the plan. We're creating this. And then all of a sudden I'm coming to her like, man, I want to move to fucking Florida. And she calls me a flip-flopper. She's like, you can't. You just want to do one thing and then you want to do something else. And all it was me just having the winter blues around this time of year and wanting to get the fuck away from cloudy, rainy shit.
We figured out what the main issue was that goes on in your head. So now I know how to prepare myself for next year when you have the winter blues.
Yeah.
Maybe during that time we'll plan like a little mini vacation or something for you to sit on a beach in the sun and get all that vitamin D, and then we can come back to Ohio and you'll be like peachy keen.
Well, which is pretty cool, because at the end of March this month, we've actually, I've told you guys on some of the previous podcasts, if you haven't heard, we sold out our mastermind group at the last Mega Media event. And me and Mike got us a motherfucking place in Miami where the group is going to fly in, and we're going to have a full-on weekend mastermind group in-person meeting where we are literally doing nothing but working on our own businesses with each other. And it's a bitchin' spot. So we're going to be doing some video and stuff like that of it. It'll kind of be the first time that we actually have the opportunity to get everybody together since the Mega Media event, and have this mastermind group meeting, which we intend on meeting in, I think we're going to meet in Seattle as well. That'll be likely our next meeting, but that'll be later on in the year. And then we'll be meeting again in October, which, if you guys haven't heard yet, we are going to be doing the Mega Media event again in San Diego. So yeah, we're going to be at Mike's shop, Mega Media 1. We actually had at Mike's shop in San Diego, MME 1.0, and we're going to be doing, what is this? Is this
the 5th?
This will be the 5th. MME 5.0 is going to be at Mike's shop. So it's going to be awesome. And we had a really good time in San Diego when we went there.
Yes.
And I mean, you guys see Mike Toledo's post on Facebook and and all that kind of stuff, where he knows where all the restaurants are, he knows where all the good spots are. So it'll be a good time. We actually, last time we had this authentic kind of like this taco truck come out, and guarantee you we'll have them guys back. And we actually catered in lunch that day. And it was all of these fresh corn tortilla tacos cooked up on like a outdoor grill. Shit was off the hook. It was good. I think they had like some sort of guacamole salad with it or something like that. But it was like an authentic. I mean, we're right there, literally on Mexico's border, eating tacos with some of the realest Mexican motherfucking taco makers you can possibly have. You can't beat that shit.
No, you can't.
But going back to full circle, we're talking about mind here, okay? Getting your mind in the right spot. And so again, we're talking about core 4 here, where we're talking power, passion, purpose, and production. And the 4th one would be production. What are we spending producing? Above and beyond that, guys, something that we talk a lot about in the mastermind group are the KPIs, which are key production indicators. And a lot of people really don't have an idea what that is, and they don't even have an idea of what their KPIs are, meaning in business, what is it that actually drives, the greatest results or the greatest return? Mm-hmm. And, the investment of your time, what actually gives you the greatest return? And we talk a lot about focusing on that. You guys ever heard of the 80-20 rule? Have you heard of the 80-20 rule?
Yes, I have.
So she's heard of the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule is that literally you only use about 20% of whatever you have, and the other 80% normally just sits there. You'll actually find this in your closets.
Yes.
For her, it's probably the 95-5 rule for the closet.
No, it's not.
You have the biggest closet full of clothes I've ever seen in my life.
No, it's not that bad.
But for the normal closet person, it's 80-20.
I don't know what anybody else's closet looks like, so I'm content with what's going on with mine.
Yeah. But this also carries on to things like your cupboards with your dishes. If you look through your cupboard in general, you're probably using 20% of your cups, 20% of your plates, things like that. So, in general,
that's actually something that I like to throw away stuff.
Yeah.
I really do.
Sure.
I do.
I know.
I love to
You
throw
threw away
stuff.
my fucking beer can collection.
Well, you don't drink alcohol anymore, so there's no purpose for you to have a beer collection.
I know my truth. So, that being said, your KPIs are the 20% that actually bring you the 80% of the results, okay? Mm-hmm. So, 20% of whatever you do is bringing you all of your results. So what we do is we learn how to identify that and then focus on it, amplifying the amount of time that you're spending. So that's like kind of like a life hack in business, is where you can actually focus down to where all of your actual results are coming from. Focus 100% of your time on that, strengthening, your results for the future.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely. So when you say, couldn't you even apply that to, I know most of dent guys out there are kind of, obsessed with their tool collection or whatever. So technically, is that even like that? They don't even use all the tools they have?
Yeah, I would say so. But in the dent guy realm, there's always that one tool that comes through at one point. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say, back whenever I first started, just because I was really cheap, and I had a small set. I want to think that before I started becoming this massive tool collector and people started sending me all these tools, I had I want to say 16 tools.
Yeah.
And at that time, I used all of them. Yeah.
And you probably also figured ways on, if there was a tool that you didn't have, you probably figured out on how to use
the tools that I had to get out whatever it was that needed to. And still, I still run in situations like that. With all the tools I have, there's always a time when you're going to run into something that you're going to need to get creative. I mean, all of you guys know that. Mm-hmm. But I do remember back in the day, I mean, that's the reason why I became decent at glue pulling, is because there was a lot of times I didn't have any choice. So I was glue pulling things that were really bad, beyond the point to where, people thought that they could be glue pulled. If you go back, check it out sometime, go into my YouTube channel and go back, God, it was probably 7 years ago when I ended up doing, it was a Honda rail that had these shots on, literally the size of baseballs, that were just smashed in there. And that was the same one, Oscar. There was a kid that we met at the Mobile Tech Expo, Oscar.
Yeah.
And Oscar was actually hitting me up because I think Oscar, what is he, 22, 23 years old?
Yeah, he's
young.
He's a youngin'.
So when this video first came out, Oscar was watching this video when he was 16 years old.
Aww.
And he was watching it over and over again.
Aww.
And, the whole thing about that video it's a clear example of whenever you do glue pulling that you've really got to fuck it up before you can fix it. And what I mean by that is, and we actually talked about that, is that, you know, there's a lot of people that get into like a real hard hit glue pull panel and they start working the damage and it just starts looking wrinkled up as fuck. And it almost, at one point when you're like kind of in the middle, it looks like it's irreversible. Like you fuck the panel up and there's no way to fix it. And I think that that's where a lot of guys stop. And then they just determine that like that kind of dent can't be done.
Yeah.
But man, I'm telling you, if you just keep on going in that thing, if you start taking them glue tabs, like, you know, you got a real hard wrinkle somewhere in the center and you take a glue tab and you yank that motherfucker into the biggest high spot you've ever seen, you're going to start watching them wrinkles start to unfold inside that dent. And little by little, when you're doing big old nasty gnarled like shit on rails, little by little them wrinkles start getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter until you get to the point to where it starts to get almost unnoticeable. And then at that point, usually when you're doing a hard hit rail, you're going to wet sand and buff it.
So what was the feeling like when you did that dent and you were actually able to, that you actually figured it out that you could do that? What was the feeling? Was it like the light bulb that went on?
Well,
off? So like
you know, the I can't really remember the moment that I figured out that I was able to fix a dent like that. In fact, wait, no, I actually do remember the moment. Actually,
Yeah.
I do remember the moment. I was sitting here trying to think about the moment that I figured it out. The true moment that I figured it out is when I had we went to Indianapolis for the first hailstorm.
Yeah.
I was only a 3-year tech at the time.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, I wasn't that good. I thought I was good. All the car dealers thought I was good, and that's because I could get a dent, you know, to the point to where if you didn't know it was there, you really wouldn't notice it.
Yeah.
On most cases anyway. So here I am. I think I'm good, and I show up at this hailstorm. I start working with these guys inside of a body shop, and I want to say it was the very first time that I'd ever worked inside of a body shop, and the QC was through the roof, so the quality control was through the roof at this place. Like when you were done with the car, they literally took it into the detailing shop that just had fluorescent bulbs all the way around the top, all over on the sides, and they really checked it over as they were detailing the car out. And the first cars that I actually worked on, they came back to me like with circles on them, so I had to fix areas that weren't perfect.
Yeah.
And then the guy who I was working with in that storm, he took my light and he sent it all the way back to the front of the car. I was working on the rear quarter panel, working one of my circle dents out, one of the dents that got circled and came back to me. He took my light and moved it all the way up into the front fender and real tight to the car. And he said, when you make it perfect with the light at that distance, he said, you're going to make it perfect to where a body man won't see it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like my first realization in paintless dent removal, number one, that I wasn't even fixing dents until I got to this storm. I thought I was fixing dents, but I really wasn't fixing dents. I was doing wholesale quality the whole time. So to take it one step further, I ended up, some of you guys might have, I think I've told the story in the past, but that storm is where I learned how to glue pull really well. And if some of you guys remember, that was Indianapolis in 2006. The cars were fucking murdered at that storm.
Wow, it was 2006?
2006. So the cars were fucking murdered in that
A
storm.
long time ago.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Yep.
there was one dent that I refused to give up on a roof rail, and I actually worked on it for 2 days straight. I'm talking about 2 full days from getting there at like 5 in the morning, working, I was working till like 8 o'clock at night every night. So 5 at the morning to like 8 o'clock at the night for 2 solid days, working on one rail dent until I glassed that motherfucker. And then that's when I realized that anything could be done. Not anything, but that's when I realized that even when a dent looks like shit midway through, if you continue to work it, eventually you'll get that thing to flatten out.
Yeah.
And the funny part about this, guys, this wasn't even like I was in some corner in the back of a body shop or I had my own like little room to hide in. This was like me sitting right in the middle of the body shop.
Oh, where everybody could look
where
at you
every
and
guy
watch
from the
it.
dude sanding the cars to the painter walking through to the whole body shop walking by and watching me work on one dent for 2 days straight.
Did anybody say anything to you?
Yeah, they would come up and be like, "You still working on that dent?" It became like a joke.
Yeah.
Like people would come up and be like, "Hey man, you still working on that dent?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was just determined. I'm like, I'm gonna get it.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, it was kind of strange because that's really, I'm actually lucky because in 2006, anybody who remembers that year, it was a massive hail year. And to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't even have stayed at that gig if it was a slow year. I mean, they wouldn't have held a spot for me. I mean, they would have got somebody in that was better than me, that's for sure, right?
Yeah.
But that year was so busy that like people were just hurting for technicians. But what had happened is that the owner seen that there was guys there that were better than me for sure at that storm,
Yeah.
like hands down. There was dudes there that were really, really good, but these guys were coming in late. They were leaving early. They spent a lot of time dicking around, and the owner really valued my work ethic, regardless of me sitting on a car and working on a rail for 2 days.
Yeah.
He seen that as a strength when other people may have seen it as a weakness or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I'm still friends with the guy today. I'm still friends with the guy and the family today because they respect me for what I did during that storm. And in fact, by the time I was done with that storm, I contribute going through that kind of, it was like walking through hell to get to where you wanted to be. And I'll tell a lot of you guys out there, any of you guys who are just starting out, you might have to be at one point baptized by fire, my friends. If you want to get there quick, if you want to become really, really good quick, then put yourself in a fucked up situation where shit has to be perfect, and and things are going to be painful. There's going to be times when things are very, very painful, to get through something like that. But when you actually come out the other end, it's almost like going to the Marines, Somebody can go to the Marines and be fat and sloppy, and when they get there, either they're going to get their shit together or they're going to get fucking kicked out or something.
Yeah.
And so literally, it's almost like transforming from the moment you walk in there to like a mediocre person to walking out like a fucking Marine,
Yeah.
That my friends, if you're just getting into it, it's gonna be painful, but it's gonna be the shortest way to your success. It's gonna be the quickest way for you to get to where you want to be, is to put yourself in a really fucked up situation and learn how to deal with it.
I didn't even know that like you struggled that much.
See, well, I'm a typical man. Hide all my feelings and shit like that.
You know that's not good. We've already had discussions about that.
I've opened up over the years.
Yes, you have.
I've opened up like a flower over the years.
Them layers. I know you're always telling me that I'm the one that has layers.
She got a lot of layers.
You got a lot of layers too.
Huh, onion girl?
Onion boy.
So that being said, guys, I want you guys to think about that.
That's a good story, babe.
Think about that going into your week. What are you doing in your life day to day where you can make some changes? I'm going to think about that too. I'm going to let you guys know what I come up with because I've been looking for a little bit of a change of a routine. Been looking to, I honestly think that regardless, you're always going to be like every day. There's never going to be that one magic change in your life that's going to make this phenomenal change. It's going to turn you into like some superhuman where all of a sudden you get hit with this realization that, almost like what was that movie where there was a movie where some guy ate a pill and then all of a sudden he became like a genius, and he like wrote a book and he did all of this shit and he started making all of this money and all this kind of stuff. It's a daily thing, like motivation, the power, the passion, the purpose, the production. That's all like a daily thing. It's a daily renewal. Like every single day that you fucking wake up, you got to be committed to put your best foot forward each and every day. And if you plan on winning, you've got to do that shit a lot. And there's going to be times where it's going to be painful. Mm-hmm. Anybody who tells you that it's not painful is lying to you. That you're not going to go through some sort of pain or some sort of resistance, or on a daily basis, you're not going to feel some sort of resistance. They're lying to you, and they're trying to sell you hopes of a dream that does not exist.
Oh, I like that.
You know, the whole thing is, guys, you got to learn how to use that resistance. When you feel resistance, when you feel like you don't want to do something, but you know that you should do it, each and every time that you overcome that resistance, you're getting one step further. You became that much better each and every time that challenge presents itself to you. Mm-hmm. And you accept that fucking challenge and you win. But every day is a challenge. Every day there's an opportunity. You can either be mediocre, continue doing the same things that you've done each and every day, or take each and every day, each and every moment, and like live in them moments. Like, you know, like they talk about living like you were going to die. Like, imagine if you knew that you were going to die in 7 days. How would you live each and every fucking day?
That's really
I would say the Core 4 would be on that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, if I was going to die in 7 days, I might go eat a bunch of shitty food.
Oh my God.
So I don't know about body. I mean, there's no way I could get in shape in that amount of time anyway. But I'd definitely be looking at passion, purpose, and...
Oh my God. I'm going to go eat a bunch of shitty food.
Yeah.
What would you eat?
Anything I wanted.
But like what, though? Would it be more sweet stuff than anything?
I don't know. That'd kind of be a bad way to die too, wouldn't it? To like go down
sugar?
all bloated and shit like that. Like to feel like a fucking balloon.
I guess maybe you would have to kind of like balance it out a little bit each day, right?
I'd probably eat steak every day. Just like I do now.
I know. I'm not really changing a lot of things.
I guess I am living like I'm dying, huh?
That is true.
All right, everybody. So anyhow, I think we about done with this podcast.
You didn't really talk about passion that much. You only talked about passion just a little bit. You talked about all the other ones like a lot. And then the passion is just like, just whittle.
Why don't you talk about passion?
No, I want you to talk about passion.
I want you to talk about passion.
No, you started off. You talked about it just a little bit because that is something that you need to work on.
It's one of my core 4s that I'm lacking on, right?
Yes. And
you know, she always says that shit, but I really don't believe it.
Yes, you do, John.
I just think that she wants more of something.
John, I've said this numerous times. Like, I've talked about, like...
This is how I keep her on the hook, though, guys.
Like, planning a day out, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, you know, already having something planned out instead of me doing it. And then you're like, hey, you need to be ready at this time because I'm going to be taking you here. Or, you wouldn't tell me where you were taking me.
See, this is why I need a personal assistant.
No. John, you don't have a personal assistant
that can help me do this shit.
No, John. Come on, let's start talking about passion. Come on. You know the majority of the people that listen to this are men and they're not women. So, what about passion?
I just think it sounds gay.
But it says relationships. Why is it so gay? It is not gay. John, it is not gay. John thinks that, like, being passionate is, like, whipping his wiener out and saying, here you go.
It does work, by the way.
No, it does not. I'm like, put that bitch back in. I was like, come on. You got to do a little bit more.
She always looks.
No, John.
You can't quit looking. I see where your eyes go, girl.
You were like, I can't believe she just fucking said that.
She's the pervert.
You can't just whip it out and expect like it's just gonna be magical and like like I'm thinking of all this like a certain type of romantic music is like playing in my head or something.
I just wish we could go back to the days where I could club her over the head and just drag her into the room. That sounds pretty passionate.
No, that does not sound passionate, John.
Cavemen had it made.
Listen,
man.
I remember back in the day when we were first together, I had told you of some type of like something I wanted to happen, and you actually did it. Do you remember that?
I do.
What was that?
I lit candles all over my room.
That's right. When we
For
were
you.
first together and you were living at your mom and dad's, your mom had a box of candles that she bought at a garage sale. Like a shitload of candles. And I came over there and you're like, I have a surprise for you. And I'm like,
I'm really
okay.
surprised with all the drugs and drinking I did back then. I didn't light the fucking place on fire.
And you brought me upstairs in your room. That room was like covered with like the candles were, I mean, it was pretty awesome.
Man, I was a fucking stud back then.
That was amazing. I thought that was so sweet.
You guys are going to have to help me here, guys.
Like,
Why do you
what is
guys
that?
get me in this shit?
Like,
Here I
what?
come up with a topic. I'm talking to you guys about it, and then all of a sudden you get my old lady mad at me.
But that's passion right there. Like, you need to kind of like find that person, you know, that you
Guys,
were.
you got me caught in this
Bringing it
shit.
out. But I will say you did really good for Valentine's Day. You did.
Keep going.
You did do really good for Valentine's
What'd I
Day.
buy you?
You bought me some beautiful flowers and a card that I read on, was it the last podcast or the podcast before that?
Yep.
And then you bought
And I wrote a poem on it.
Yes, and it was very sweet. And then you bought me an Apple Watch, which I've told people.
Yeah, and this girl's going to sit here and just talk about I'm not passionate. Most of you guys are shaking your head, say, I didn't buy my old lady anything.
But I'm like a hopeless romantic. That's something that you've got to keep doing because that's just who I am. I love all them, love songs that you listen to.
I'll tell you
I'm
what.
not really into the mushy, like, love movies. I like comic.
One of these
love
days, I'm
movies.
going to blindfold you, and I'm
Yeah.
going to take you down there to that motel across from the muffler shop where they got that jiggly bed.
Oh, God, John. No, you're not.
You can put in a quarter and get the bed. You got that jiggly bed.
No,
And then when you open your eyes, I'm going to look you right in the face and say, I'll eat your poop.
John, that's disgusting.
I thought that was passionate. To say that to somebody.
This is a little
To
awkward.
say that to somebody is a very, very passionate statement. All of you guys know this.
So now we know what John's lacking, the 4 P's. John's very successful at all 3 except the one, which is passion. I mean, he's got it, but he just needs to like really work on it a little bit.
So I do need to take her down there where that jiggly bed
No,
is.
I don't want to be on a jiggly bed.
The hotel by the muffler shop?
It made me sick. I'm not going there. The place probably has bed bugs.
Oh, hell. You just knock them off.
That's disgusting. That's disgusting. That is so gross. But you are going to do something really nice for my birthday. Actually, we have already been celebrating my birthday, even though I will be 40 years old on March 3rd.
Woo! 40 years old.
I know, it's kind of crazy. I can't believe that.
Makes me feel like a young buck.
But I look younger than you, though.
I don't know. If you had a beard, you might not. It's only my beard that makes me look older.
Oh, we're not shaving off your beard. There's no way.
You want to show the whole world my butt chin?
You don't have, I think you have a little bit of a butt chin, but I don't think you have like a big one. It's just,
I
you
got a
look
full-on
so
butt
weird.
chin. Full-on butt chin.
No,
I
you
can
don't.
I can blow my nose and wipe my ass at the same time.
No, you're not shaving your beard off. No. Because I probably would like look at you and I'd be like, you would look like a different person. And then I'd be like, is that really my husband?
Wake you up in the middle of the night. Hey, baby.
Oh, no.
Hey, baby.
Talk about it.
Let me rub my butt chin on your behind.
Oh, my
Now
God.
you guys see how passionate I am. She's full of shit.
You are, but you just need to do some
I
more
just spent the
tweaking.
whole end of this podcast talking passion with you.
Wait, we should tell them about that weird lady when we were going in the furniture stores. We can leave it. We can talk about that, and then we'll end the podcast.
You got to tell the story. I'm not telling it.
Oh, so I'm like wanting to get a new kitchen table eventually and stuff like that, and we go into Morris Home Furnishing, and I just normally, you know how like you go into a store and you just want to be like left alone and just kind of like look at the stuff. Like this lady, how would you describe it?
Like that clown, It. You know how like you're walking around and then like you just know that It is looking at you?
Yeah, like she would pop
But-
out of nowhere.
But you can't really see where It is until the last second. But you know It is looking at you.
So we had to strategically get out of there before she could find us.
I felt like we were being chased.
No, it was a horrible
Like we were being
experience.
stalked around from a distance.
I know. And see, like, I was telling John, I was like, that was horrible because, like, back in the day when I worked for the Buckle, the one manager that we had, she was always telling us, you know, like, you have to kind of, like, be a little aggressive in a way to, you know, get your sales and whatnot. And I tried that, and I'm like, this does not feel right. It's making the customer feel horrible, like I'm basically stalking them. And they're not there to actually, and you know, have an enjoyable experience. So I backed off and obviously quit doing that, and then my sales definitely increased. But that was a weird feeling.
Yeah, fuck that shit.
I know.
Everybody wants to buy, but nobody wants to be sold.
That's right.
And I kept leaving her, like when the lady was talking to her.
I know.
I
John
kept
was like
walking
ditching
like
me.
20 feet ahead
I
of him.
know. You were like speeding it up, and I'm like, why is he
That
like
lady
ditching
was
me?
fucking scary.
I'm like, why are you ditching me and leaving me? Because I'm like, I was being nice, but it was getting to the point to where I'm just like, you really want me to go and tell you to fuck off?
All right, everybody. So anyhow, we're going to go ahead and bounce out of this podcast on that note.
On that note.
So fuck off.
No, we don't want to say that.
And we'll see you on the next one.